Hey there, Detroit sports fanatics, and welcome to another edition of my Detroit Sports Show right here on blogtalkradio.com. blogtalkradio.com, live from the northern outskirts of McBain, Michigan, with yours truly, your host, Taylor Phillips. That's me. This is the Lions edition. And if you have any opinions of what's going on right now with them, or want to join in on the conversation, you can do it by phone at 646-478-4837. Again, that's 646-478-4837. You can also look me up on Facebook and add me there as a friend. Taylor Phillips is my name. You can like my page, Taylor Phillips's Detroit Sports page, and you can join Taylor Phillips's Detroit Sports Group. I am also on LinkedIn, Taylor Phillips. I'm simulcasting on YouTube via Google, Taylor Phillips. And there is also a chat window on blogtalkradio.com, so you can comment your post there. So again, the number is 646-478-4837. Before we begin, here are the guidelines for all the listeners of tonight's show. Number one, if you called in, stay on the line. If you hang up by mistake, no problem. Just redial the number 646-478-4837. So I can get to you for a talk. You'll have 30 minutes to do so until the show concludes. Number two, keep it very clean. Number three, treat each other with respect. Number four, if you don't know much about the Lions or any other Detroit sports, you can still just listen. Number five, stay on the topic with me until I bring up another topic. Number six, I will ask at least one question as the show rolls along. It doesn't really sound like a guideline. So, looking at last Sunday, the Lions had a 14-0 lead early in the third quarter until the Eagles finally got on the board with a touchdown without a two-point conversion. It was a snowstorm to begin the game in Philly, and I mean a major snowstorm. And I actually did not see that coming until I woke up from sleeping in that Sunday early afternoon while I was getting ready for work at Little Caesars in Cadillac. Can you excuse me? I'll be right back. I gotta get a drink of water. All right. Apologize for the short wait. And I thought that through at least halftime, I thought the Lions had an advantage with the snowstorm, especially on defense. The Eagles could not get a first down. until they scored their first touchdown, and the Eagles started having momentum from there. And through the fourth quarter, fast forwarding, the Lions actually lost control of momentum, and then the Eagles took the lead and held on to win 34-20. The Lions came absolutely unglued for the second time in 3 weeks. And snow was a factor the whole way through. Almost nobody can handle it. The Lions' secondary defense was awful in the second half. They just deflated. I don't know if it's running out of gas or making excuses. But most of the heat was received by Jim Schwartz, their head coach, and the rest of the coaching staff. And some other heat was given to Stafford, Bell, Dominic Raiola for that bad snap that Stafford wasn't ready for. Which was only Dominic Raiola's fault, not Stafford's. The secondary defense, who stood there like statues, like I mentioned just a minute ago, and the officials who threw two bad flags on Nick Fairley and Ndamukong Suh. And made threw most of the flags against the Lions for some stupid reason, for two stupid reasons. One, for stupid officiating, and two, for the Lions just bad penalties to take, which were actually easy calls for the referees. So the positive thing that I have was Jeremy Ross, who was an X factor for the Lions. He scored a 58-yard touchdown punt return. And then a 98-yard touchdown kickoff return. Those were 2 consecutive touchdowns for the Lions, scored by Jeremy Ross. Two straight touchdowns by Ross. And that's about all I'm going to cover for tonight's last Sunday's game. So I'm going to go ahead and go to the injury report. The only injury report that I know of, that I remember, is Reggie Bush missing 2 straight practices and then returning to practice today, and he's expected to play this Monday night at 8:30 against the Ravens on ESPN. He did not play last Sunday against the Eagles because of his injured calf, or strained calf, if you prefer. There were 6 other players that missed practice yesterday besides Reggie, who returned who participated in today's practice. Those include Ziggy Ansah and at defensive end, and cornerback Chris Houston. I don't have. I am unable to eye the injury report from today. Oh, wait. I actually found today's injury report. But first, yesterday's practice, there were only two notables that were limited in practice. Wide receiver Calvin Megatron Johnson with a knee injury, and offensive tackle LaAdrian Waddle with an elbow. There were 7 that missed practice, including Bush, Ansah, and Houston. The other 4 were defensive end Israel Adonijah with a knee injury, cornerback Darius Slay with a knee, safety Louis Delmas with a knee, and safety John Wendling with illness, which can be considered a sport-related injury. That covers that. Moving on to today's injury report. There were so those players listed from yesterday again. This time have changed, except one of them, or 2 of them rather, still did not practice. Those are cornerback Chris Houston with a toe, and cornerback Darius Slay with a knee. John Wendling at safety feeling better. He participated in the entire practice for today. And there were 6, and the other 6 were limited. Reggie Bush, Calvin Johnson, LaAdrian Waddle, Ziggy Ansah, Israel Adage, and Louis Dilmas. So those 7 that participated in at least the limited in at least the limited portions of practice are expected to play, including Bush, Johnson, Ansah, Adonijah, and Dilmas. 5 key guys the Lions could use right here for Monday night at 8:30. Last night my ex-uncle Tim Robbins came over and played cribbage with Dad in his shop. I came in and said hi to Tim, and I usually talk sports every now and then, every time he comes over. And I touched on the Lions. Tim said that he wanted the Lions to lose because he just can't stand Jim Schwartz. Because he doesn't like the way Schwartz behaves, which wasn't really my problem. But most importantly, he only got the Lions to the playoffs, and they lost to the Saints in the 2011-2012 NFL season, or playoffs. The NFC Divisional Championship. The Lions finished their regular season, their 2011 regular season at 11-5. Before then, Tim wanted Bill Belichick to come coach the Lions, and I thought it was a great idea because Belichick had more of the brains and less of the arrogance that Schwartz has altogether. As a head coach, you cannot have arrogance. You have to care for your team. As any part of the coaching staff, you have to care for your team and not be arrogant. You need your players to step up. You can't just keep saying, "We're fine. We just need to be aggressive." Those words just don't cut it. I'm just pointing this out. And that's about it. So, moving on to On Paper, previewing the Lions versus the Ravens at Ford Field. Again, it starts on Monday. They don't play Sunday. They play Monday night at home at 8:30 on ESPN, Monday Night Football, with Mike Tirico and John Gruden doing the play-by-play in color. Mike Tirico's the play-by-play and John Gruden's the color. the Lions passing offense versus the Ravens passing offense. Lions by a half a point. Lions get the advantage by a half a point. Lions passing offense is ranked third. The Ravens passing defense, secondary defense, is ranked 14th, which is still pretty good. Just not that great. Moving on to the Lions running offense versus the Ravens running defense. Lions running offense is ranked 19th. The Ravens run defense is ranked 8th, which is pretty stingy, especially up the middle and maybe around the sides a bit. Ravens get that advantage by a full flat point. So moving on to the other side of the ball, the football, Ravens passing offense ranked 20th versus the Lions 25th ranked passing defense. I think the Lions passing defense was ranked lower than that last week. They must have moved up a little, but the advantage says draw, obviously. I'm going to post that article on Facebook after the show is over. The Ravens running offense is ranked 29th, and the Lions running defense is ranked 6th. The Lions will get a big advantage there by 2 points. A player to watch there is Stephen Tulloch. He struggled last week simply by hesitating and poor tackling poorly with skill, not effort. Just tackle better. It's that simple. Just like Jim Brandstatter says every single darn game. Off paper, two things off paper from this article. The special teams, Jeremy Ross had a breakout game last week with a touchdown punt return and a touchdown kick return, like I mentioned earlier in this on this show. And then the game is at Ford Field on Monday Night Football at 8:30 on ESPN. It said it does not include the Saturday night version against the Atlanta Falcons last year. The city of Detroit rose up and forced the Chicago Bears into 9 false start penalties. That includes. They're talking about the fans at Ford Field. So, moving on to score prediction, the Lions end up with a 1.5, with a 1.5 of an advantage, and are predicted to beat the Ravens 23-17. the Lions will use the emotional, blued out crowd and use their running defense as the Achilles heel. And use their passing offense, including Megatron and Nate Burleson, etc., Brandon Pettigrew, Kevin Ogletree as an advantage too. So one for the road. Almost forgot to share this on-paper article. I'm also going to tweet that on-paper article. October 9th, 2005, the Lions 35, the Ravens 17, which is the last time the Ravens visited Ford Field. One of the Ravens, I remember Terrell Suggs of the Ravens getting ejected for making contact with an official after the Lions scored that one important touchdown, and the Ravens just came unglued, from what I can tell. So that's about it. I'm going to share that article too on Facebook. So that's about all the ground I have to cover for tonight's Lions edition of Taylor's Detroit Sports Show. Come out tomorrow night at 11. I'll cover the Red Wings, who have been struggling in the shootout. I'll tell you why. Until then, almost forgot an off-the-record score in Detroit sports. The Pistons nearly blew a 21-point lead, but barely held on to beat the Brooklyn Nets at the Palace, 103-99. Drummond had a career 18 points in the first half to lead his team. So that's going to do it. I'm Taylor Phillips signing off, saying TTFN, ta-ta for now.